Hello, my name is Dominic Cogan, and I just want to tell you a little bit about the mindfulness based stress reduction course that's starting on September 15th, Tuesdays from 7 to 9:30. You might be wondering what MBSR stands for, mindfulness based stress reduction, and you notice there that the last word is reduction. So the idea is that we see that stress is a normal part of life. But of course, sometimes we just become overwhelmed by stress, and that's when we need the reduction element. So, this is an 8-week course. It's a very well researched, evidence based course, which began many years ago in 1979. It was designed by John Kabat-Zinn, who was an international scientist and mindfulness teacher. And normally, I'd be running this course at the Mindfulness Centre in Dublin. And because of COVID-19, of course, the opportunities for doing things like that are quite limited. So I'm running it from home, as you can probably see from my background here. This is my mindfulness. I'm sitting on my mindfulness chair, my mindfulness teaching chair. So just tell you a little bit about the course. What can you expect from participating in a course like this? So the first thing to say is that it's not a cure-all for all of people's problems. It doesn't claim to cure people of any particular physical ailments. Although there's quite a bit of evidence to show that people who have chronic pain conditions or other physical ailments can sometimes find that their symptoms are significantly reduced, or they can cope better with pain. But also, many people do this course because they are under a certain amount of psychological stress. So one of the things we do in this course is we teach a practice called mindfulness. Many people are aware of what mindfulness is today, although there are lots of misunderstandings about what it is. So it's not about chilling out or going into some kind of super relaxation zone. Although usually when people do practice, they often find that they feel more relaxed and more settled as a result of it. The main purpose really of doing a mindfulness practice or a mindfulness meditation is that first of all we start to notice what's really going on inside. What are the thoughts I'm having? What are the feelings I'm having? And how does all that play out in the body? And is there a better way for me to relate to all of this? Typically when we're suffering, when we're stressed, when we're in pain, we want to kind of push it all away, because it's understandable. Nobody likes to suffer. And in a way, that's kind of a mistake. So it's not that we're trying to suggest that people would just wallow in pain and suffering, but if we can kind of come to a more relaxed, even-tempered way of relating to our experience and not fighting our experience, in fact, even making friends with our experience, even when it's difficult, a lot of the tension just kind of ebbs away. The physical tension and the mental tension as well. And we discover then we have more space, more room, literally to breathe, but also more space psychologically to be creative about how we navigate the kind of the waves of stress or whatever it is that's bothering us. So people typically who do a course like that, some of the benefits that they experience are an increased sense of well-being, a sense of really noticing the good things that are there, even despite the fact they might be in a difficult life situation. There's obviously a reduction in stress. And for people suffering from anxiety or depression, there's a good bit of evidence to show that mindfulness can be really helpful in reducing the symptoms of anxiety and also helping people to make a quicker recovery from depression. Of course, we would never contradict the advice of a doctor or anything like that. So some people, if they're attending a doctor for these conditions, they sometimes continue to do so, or you might be going to a counsellor or whatever. Occasionally people take medication if that's necessary, and we don't ever kind of contradict these ideas, but offer another thing on the menu to help people to promote their own well-being. So you might be wondering what happens on a typical session. So the sessions are I suppose quite long. They're 2.5 hours long, and there's often a fear that people have: am I going to be meditating for 2.5 hours? So the answer is no, not at all. Usually, the amount of meditation would be in a session would be max would be an hour, but that's divided up into usually two different practices. The practices are long enough in the sense that this is an intense course, so it's for people who are really kind of serious about kind of learning mindfulness in depth to have a real impact on their lives. And typically, people practice for between 45 minutes to an hour every day. So that's quite a big commitment. And not everybody is up for that. So if you really feel that you're ready for this, this might be the course for you. So it's not an introductory course. And so typically what happens in the sessions, as we say, there's meditation practice. And then connected to the meditation practice, we do something called mindful inquiry, where we start to very gently explore what our experience was, what was coming up for us, what were we noticing about what was going on in the body and what was going on in the mind, and how were we relating to that. And then we make the connections between that and things that are going on day to day in our lives, and saying, is there a better way I could be with this? Is there a better way I could deal with my emotions rather than just acting them out every single time? So another thing we do then is that we do a certain amount of little bit of pair work or small group work. So the great thing about doing it online, believe it or not, is that we can have these what they call breakout rooms, where we can put people into little rooms where they're chatting with maybe one other person or maybe two or three other persons. We can also share videos, we can share screens to show notes and all kinds of things. So believe it or not, I've been teaching mindfulness and other courses online now for a good while. And while face-to-face teaching is probably the optimum, in the COVID-19 situation for the moment, it seems to me that there are huge opportunities in terms of learning a course like this or attending a course like this online. The great thing about it is that you don't have to be in the Greater Dublin area. You could be in West Kerry or Donegal, or you could be in France or Australia. It really doesn't matter in terms of attending the course. And I have previously had people from outside of Ireland doing these courses. So that's kind of giving the main outline of the course. There's, people are invited to do home practice every day during the course, and maybe to take a few simple notes. But it's not an academic course. There's no tests. You don't get a qualification either. The qualification is that you notice that you are being more mindful and just coping with the everyday situations. The good news is that I find with a 2.5 hour session that some kind of a coffee break is an essential, because you're looking at a screen and it can be a little bit tiring. So we do take a coffee break, and you can go off. The lovely thing about this is you don't have to get into your car and wade through the traffic to get to the mindfulness course, and you're not kind of traveling late at night to get back home. It's all happening in your own home as it's happening in mine. The other thing is that there is quite a bit of support in terms of this. I give extensive notes, so every week I send people, about 10 to 15 pages of notes. You don't absolutely have to read them, but it's very helpful if you do, because they explain some of the concepts that we'll be looking at. We're looking at obviously at stress, how does it affect the body and the mind. We're looking at worry, how the mind can play tricks on us. We'll be looking at how we communicate with other people and see how there are more effective ways of doing that, more mindful ways of doing that. But most of all, we'll be looking at the relationship we have with ourselves. How am I relating to myself, particularly when there's some kind of unhappiness or some kind of stressful situation? A big aspect of this kind of course is also the learning you get from meeting other people online who are maybe going through something similar to yourself. And sharing that experience, it can be very affirming, and there can be a lot of learning from doing that. But it's not therapy, so people don't come on and go into a big story about what happened to them when they were a child or anything like that. That's not the purpose of the course, but obviously these things can sometimes impinge on people's experience, and really look, instead of looking at the story, the facts of what has happened to people in the past, we get people to tune into the now. What's happening in the body right now, and what can we do about that now? How can we be with what's here? So that's basically it. If you would like to make an inquiry or to book for the course, info@mindfulness.ie is your first port of call, or if you prefer to go onto my own website, you can do so. My website is my name, www.dominiccogan.com, or my email address is Dominic, Dominic, and then there's a little full stop, Cogan, at iCloud, the letter I, Cloud.com. Thank you for listening.